The Holo Twister AR is undoubtedly the best weapon for long range. I mean, a high damage, hit scan, no bloom, red dot, no kick AR is just insane. I don't know what they were thinking. But when it comes to close range fighting, it's not so simple. A lot of people just look at the DPS numbers of each weapon and say, oh, it's pretty close, they're all about the same. But there's a lot of information missing from DPS data. The most important being headshot multiplier. I mean, if it wasn't for the damage drop off at range, the Veiled SMG would be the best long range weapon. ARs have the lowest headshot multiplier at 1.5x. The Veiled SMG has a 1.7 times multiplier, and the pistol has a 2 times multiplier. So while they all have pretty close DPS if you only hit body shots, as soon as you start hitting headshots, there starts to be a gap between their DPSs. And you're bound to hit some headshots at the very least by accident. And even if just one of your shots is a headshot, you're already at a minimum of 16% headshot percentage. So the suppressed pistol really has the highest DPS up close, with the Veiled SMG in second place and then everything else. Seeing that, you might think the Veiled Precision isn't that bad. You get the second best damage per second and still get to keep a red dot for long range. Until I tried it and had to learn about its drawbacks the hard way. The first being its range drop off. Even if you're hitting only headshots maximizing the DPS difference between the weapons, the Holo Twister still out damages it as soon as you're more than like 45 meters away. It starts to equal out once you're near max render distance, but it was even worse earlier this week before the balance patch that took 1 damage off the Holo Twister. So the Veiled SMG is the second best at long range, but when it comes to close range, it is not the second best, even though it has the second best DPS. It just has too many problems. First, the clip size is just way too small and the reload time is way too long for being the weapon with the highest rate of fire. It shoots 10 bullets per second, but it only has 21 bullets in a clip. So after shooting for only 2 seconds, you have to reload for even longer than 2 seconds. At every rarity except legendary, you have to spend more time reloading this gun than you do shooting it. The Holo Twister, which isn't even made for close range, has more than twice as much damage in each clip than the Veiled, but only reloads a quarter of a second slower. And that's not even counting the reduced damage the Veiled does to builds. Yeah, on top of the already tiny clip size, the Veiled also is the only spray weapon to deal reduced damage to structures. A gray one can't even break a single brick wall without having to reload in between. The pistol also has a really small clip size, but it has a super fast reload speed to make up for it. Comparing different weapons' clip size, reload speed, and DPS can get too complicated with all the variables, but they really all just combine into total damage output. How much damage does the weapon do when taking into account the magazine size and reloading? When you adjust all the weapon's DPS to account for this, you can see why the Veiled is so bad for pressuring. Its DPS is so much lower than all the other options. This is also why the Surgefire SMG is so bad. Its rate of fire increases as you shoot it, but even if you hold down and empty the clip entirely every time, maximizing its DPS, the average rate of fire would be 13.7, giving it a pretty low adjusted damage per second when including clip size and reload speed. So even if you wanted a weapon to just spray walls, all of the other weapons are better. The only use I could think of for a Surgefire SMG is if you just need 1 or 2 bullets to bleed through a wall on someone who's low on HP. You might have noticed I'm pretty much ignoring the Fury, and that's because it has the same headshot multiplier as the Holo Twister, but it's just worse in every other category. Worse reload speed, worse hipfire spread, damage per clip, no red dot. I mean, it's not horrible, but it's basically just a slightly worse Holo Twister but with no scope. But the Holo Twister is really good, so having a slightly worse Holo Twister isn't bad. The last thing to consider with these weapons are their spreads. Red dot weapons may have no bloom at long range, but in a box fight hip firing, their spread is large enough that even when you're aimed on target, your bullets can miss. The ARs have double the hipfire spread of the pistol, and the Veiled is about halfway in between. So for the most part, your best options are always either the Holo Twister or the pistol. Twister for long range, pistol for close range. I feel like everyone knows the Twister is strong already, but I see way too many people just leaving purple and gold pistols on the ground, even when they aren't going to be looking for long range tags at all. If you're not trying to start fights with anyone and just playing for placement in a lobby with no surge, you should always just take the pistol. It's better for what you need. But a lot of people just leave them on the ground, so you'll often find them laying on the ground next to shrines that are already claimed. Every shrine has a 10% chance of dropping a purple pistol, so it's not that uncommon. Thanks for watching, and shout out to Assyrian for providing all the weapon data. They have stats for all the weapons, chest spawn rates, and a bunch of other stuff over on their website. And if you're new, check out the rest of the channel. I have a ton more content just like this one. Farewell.